Now, you gave him a mention earlier on, but obviously rest in peace to Peter, aka Wildman. And Wildman, from what I've seen as far as your material, he's a pretty serious guy. Like he's someone you can look at. Obviously, God bless, but looking at him, he's serious. So as far as you being in Arizona, there was an instance where you actually flew him out and you rented a place for him. Now, talk to me about the occasion when you knocked on the door and you found, like, I guess, Mexicans in there, that sort of thing.
All right, just a bit of background then for people watching this who are not familiar with Wildman. Wildman, my best friend from childhood. He grew massive as a teenager.
Yeah.
Picks a school teacher up, puts him in the bin. Teachers are then so scared of him, they've got him outside raking leaves with the caretaker. And that was just when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Right. So he's got red dots in his head, tell him to hurt people. I promised him on the thinking tree, gonna fly you out to America, Peter, get you a job as a wrestler. I'm idealist. He ends up in prison like he predicted.
Right.
Yeah. So he's in prison and I'm working away diligently in the stock market for about 4 or 5 years. He gets out of prison. By now, I'm making a lot of money and I follow through with my promise to fly him out.
Sick.
So I get him a place by the George and Dragon British pub in Central Phoenix. It's like a house, but it's a shared house. So he's got his section of it. And I'm hoping he's just going to go to the George and Dragon pub and have some Guinnesses with the expats and behave himself. Within months, me and my girlfriend go over there and we knock on the door. Bunch of Mexicans answer the door. Where's Peter? They're looking at us like, who the F's Peter? I'm like, Peter, I put him here, he lives here. We're from England. There's no Peter here.
Crazy.
I'm like, there's got to be a Peter here. So I'm getting into it with them, and there's a bunch of Mexicans, and there's a Colombian at the back of them, which I later learn. Anyway, they pull guns out. This is Central Phoenix. There's a lot of dealers, blah, blah, blah. So me and my girlfriend at the time start backpedaling away from the door.
Mm-hmm.
Peter just bounces across the road. He's like, oh, it's okay, Shaun. I'm like, it's not okay. We could have just got effing shot.
Like literally.
They're the local crack dealers.
Right.
They're buzzing because I can do $100 crack rock in one breath. They're giving me as much free crack as I want. They like to move around a lot. So I've let them stay in there for now. I'm in their place over the street. The guy at the back, he's the Colombian guy who's running it.
Crazy.
And he wants to invest in the stock market. And he's looking at me like he's done me the biggest favor in the world. And I'm like, but that was just the beginning of that place.
That is fucking
It ends in a
hilarious.
corpse on the doorstep.
Wow. So there was a corpse, I guess.
That's how it ended.
Yeah.
So I'm in the stock market, in the office, doing my thing. I get a call from my aunt. Peter's house is headline news. There's been...
And this is your aunt who's in America already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter's house is headline news right now.
Is this the same one that you're renting, pretty much?
Yes, that house.
Yeah, that house.
Yeah. It's headline news. There's yellow tape all around it. Someone's dead. It might be Peter. You need to get your ass up there.
Fucking hell.
So I was a bit twacked out on drugs when this news comes in. I'm not thinking very rationally, but I jump in my car, speed up there. There's camera crews. There's yellow tape. There's cop cars everywhere. I've got drugs in the car. I think this is not a good scene. I go back to work. It's on my mind all day. I go back in the afternoon because it's niggling away at me. So when I get back there, everyone's gone. I go in. There's blood on the step. I go in and Peter is sat there with a homicide detective.
Right.
Yeah, which I got one of the most graphic stories in my life out of this homicide detective. I don't know if you got time to hear that later on, but it's insane. It's about a serial killer. So, they're looking at me. Who are you? I'm like, I'm with him. I rent this place for him. Give him my business card. Blah blah blah. They've took Peter down. They've done gunpowder tests on him and all that. So I give the cop my details. The cop goes. I'm like, what's going on, Peter? What's happened? So he says a couple came over looking to buy crack. The woman, they say, look, the dealers are back over the road now. So the woman goes over the road to get the crack. The man stays with Peter. Peter's never seen a gun. The man's got a gun. So he gets his gun out, starts demonstrating the gun. And Peter's saying, I'm from England, I've never seen a gun before.
Yeah.
You know, how'd you shoot it? And the guy goes, you know, well, the safety's on, I'll show you how to shoot it. And he pulls the trigger and shoots himself in the head.
What the fuck?
Shoots himself in the head and falls dead on the step right in front of Peter.
Somewhat of a suicide sort of thing.
Drugs were involved.
Oh, right, yeah.
When people are on drugs, sometimes, you know, your decision-making processes are a bit scrambled.
Yeah.
I have no idea what actually happened. All the gunpowder tests were run. He'd shot himself. What was going on in his head? There's no way to know what was going on in his head if he was on, you know, what drugs he was on and what he was thinking. Maybe he thought the safety was on and the safety wasn't on. But that apartment ended there.
Yeah. So how long was Wildman staying there before that incident happened, would you say?
It was within a matter of months. There was
months.
multiple incidences.
Yeah. But that was the one that actually was like...
That was the one that finished it.
Yeah.
I got there one time and he was dropping a TV on the head of his neighbour and his neighbour's friend. He was just picking the TV up, dropping it on one's head, picking the TV up, dropping it on the other's head, picking it up again, dropping it on the other's head. And his ankle, for some reason, was out here. I'm like, Peter, what are you doing? He goes, well, you put me in a house with these heroin users, and I've warned them not to leave their needles out. And they left the needles in the bathroom, and I almost got one stuck in my skin.
Fucking hell.
So I'm teaching them a lesson. And I said, well, what's happened to your ankle? He goes, well, I accidentally dropped the TV. I was trying to drop it on one of the heads, and I accidentally dropped it on my ankle. His ankle was this big.
Fucking hell.
And I was like, you got to go to hospital. He hated hospitals. He said he was self-healing.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. But after that, he ends up on the west side, right?
So you move him to another house, I guess.
Yeah. So there's two women that are from the drug community that he already knows that are living on the west side.
All right.
And one of them's got a boyfriend or a roommate who's a big steroid head. He's got long, blonde Chippendale hair and a cowboy hat. And he's a bouncer, a doorman at a nightclub on Van Buren and thinks he's a tough guy.
Right.
Man, this one doesn't even last long enough for the check to be cashed on the deposit for the place. What happens here is I go up there, meet the rental office people, sign on it off for him. He's on the lease. Next day, I get a call. Peter's been evicted. Why has he been evicted? He beat his roommate up. I said, well, how do you know he beat his roommate up?
As you do, I guess. So.
What evidence is there that he beat his roommate up?
Yeah.
She said that the roommate was seen fleeing for his life in the middle of the night through the apartment complex by multiple residents with plasterboard powder all over his face and head. And there was multiple human head-sized holes in the walls. So fortunately, he did it so fast I was able to stop the check.
Crazy.
So that didn't get cashed.
Right.
But the women who he was living with, one of them had a boyfriend in Tempe, Arizona, the university area, who was behind on the rent, and he moved in with him. That apartment complex, Rancho Murrieta, it's a massive, multiple buildings within the complex, and it is that complex where the criminal enterprise begins. The foundation of it. I would have never have met the mafia characters that Wildman buddied up with without him, you know, being able to do that.
Right.
And it was through that everything just got started from Rancho Murrieta.
Yeah. So just to sort of summarize, so now Wildman has been moved into this new place.
Yes.
And this is what you regard as like the party central sort of thing.
Yes,
It's all
Tempe, Arizona.
It's all going off here pretty much, isn't it?
Yes.
And I just want to bring to your attention a time when you mentioned you could only acquire a certain amount of e-pills.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot going around. There was about, I guess, 15 or so at the most or something.
People don't understand what it was like back then, man, because they say, oh, E's everywhere now. It's only £1 a pill.
Yeah.
Back then, it was scarce to get pure E. It was coming from LA. We were getting it from Holland and then bouncing it back over to AZ. And it was going for $25 to $30 a pill in the clubs. So we could get up to 50 pills, 100 pills maybe from the local dealers. That's all they would get at a time from LA.
Yeah.
And Acid Joey, R.I.P. Acid Joey.
R.I.P.
He was my local supplier back then. Navajo guy, stocky.
Native American.
Always on ketamine and acid and stuff. And he was the best dancer you could ever see.
Really?
The reason I spotted him was I was at a underground party called Chupa in an industrial studio in downtown Phoenix. And there was a circle of people watching this guy dance.
No way.
And it was Acid Joey doing all this. He would sometimes get on the dance floor and he would be dancing through the whole dance floor, maybe mimicking loading up a shotgun and just
No
shooting
way.
all the dancers around him. Oh, he was such a badass. Yeah, I had so much fun with Acid Joey.
Yeah.
But he was found dead in his swimming pool with all of his clothes on. That was after, I think that was during while I was in prison.
Crazy.
So that's what happened to my homie Joey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Joey, I realised if he could dance that good, he must have been on pure stuff. So I got talking to him early on for pills, and he was my local supplier. Yeah.
So going back to, so you can only acquire a certain amount of pills. So you being someone of a business background, your antennas are pretty much tweaking at this point, saying, you know what? If someone managed to get more than what we can actually get, they'll make a killing, to say the least. Like,
arbitrage opportunity.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to thinking, and there was an occasion, I guess, where a deal was set up with someone in LA for you to purchase 1,000 pills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about this occasion.
All right, I'm going to call this person Sol.
Right.
A lot of my names have got to be changed for legal reasons.
Okay.
When you write books and stuff, they make you do that.
Right.
So I arranged to buy, I think it's 1,000 pills through Sol. He's in West Hollywood. And 2 carloads of us go out there. Now, this was before I knew any protocol about drug smuggling. This is going to sound ridiculous.
So you're just a pure opportunist at this point. You're like, I
Yeah,
can get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I've got twin turbo Mazda RX-7, like out of Fast and Furious.
Right.
I've got a radar detector on the windshield so that it'll beep if there's speed traps. I've got like a gun under the seat. I've got Wildman with me. It's a first seat. There's a reason I'm telling you that in a minute.
Yeah.
So we blast out there at warp speed, right? 2 carloads of us. The other carload, it's got Seth, and Seth is dead as well. He was very close to me.
God bless.
He hammered the drugs. He was a stockbroker too. But
Right.
after a couple of weeks of hanging out with Wildman, he got enraged one day at our boss, picked the computer up in the stockbrokerage and threw it at our boss.
No way.
And he was fired, and he ended up collecting crack debts with Wildman in Central Phoenix for the crack
Right.
boss. So yeah, Wildman's called that purification. Anyway, 2 carloads of us are off to LA.
Yeah.
This guy keeps us waiting for hours, man, in West Hollywood.
Right.
Wildman's like just fuming, red dots kicking in. If Wildman's going to do some damage, one of his eyebrows goes vertical.
Yeah.
One's horizontal and one's vertical. You knew he was going to kick off whenever that happened.
Yeah.
Red dots are kicking in. Oh, red dots. I'm gonna just, when this guy shows up, I'm just gonna boot his door down and take his shit. I'm like, wow, man, you're not gonna boot his door down and take his shit. That's bad business. So yeah, in the other car, it was Seth and Acid Joey, and it was me and Wildman. All dead now, I can't believe it. So I'm telling them to keep Wildman under control. Now this guy finally shows up with a bunch of surfer dudes. Have you ever watched that movie, Point Break, with the surfer gangsters?
I haven't, no.
I've never seen surfer gangsters before.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, literally, yeah.
Surfer gangsters. So, all right, I'm just going to go in there on my own now. I've got however many thousands of dollars, and go in there. And there's all these surfer gangsters and Sol, and I'm thinking, if these guys could just take this money off me, and they're going to pull a gun. Is the undercover cop's going to snatch you when I come outside? So I'm crapping it. You know, I'm not a tough guy. I'm crapping it. And he goes into a room and he pulls out the biggest bag of pills I've ever seen. I think it was Mitsubishi's from Holland.
Okay.
So I'm like licking my lips now. Like, can I try one of them? He goes, yeah, I'll get you a drink. I'm like, no, I just want to taste it. Because I've done so much ecstasy, I knew what a good pill would taste like.
Right, yeah.
And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. I just throw this pill in my mouth and I'm chewing this pill and tasting it. I'm like, yeah.
Is it proper, like?
Proper MDMA.
Yeah.
A pill should be 125 milligrams of MDMA and clay.
Right.
Back then, like a beige maybe speckled press from Holland. So I know this is the right thing. So he's counting the bills. I've got the pills, and I leave there and go to Wildman. I'm saying, yeah, it was a yummy pill. We're going home. This is going to be all good.
You're driving.
I'm driving. I've not felt my high yet. I'm driving. We're all happy. 2 carloads of us. Man, I put DJ Sasha on, right? Have you been to LA?
I haven't, no.
I mean, Arizona's got wide roads, big motorways, freeways, but LA's got these like 8 lanes one way and shit like that, and carpool lanes and everything. And it's, so I'm like, I think I'm in the carpool lane. Remember I said about the furry seat?
Yeah. So basically,
I've got no hair, right?
Yeah.
So, carpool lane, DJ Sasha. I don't know if you remember, there's a CD called Renaissance from way back in the day, but Sasha was one of my all-time favorite DJs. God bless Sasha. In the beginning of racing, it was all Sasha Calcock. I'm like, got my radar detector on, going up to hundreds and plus miles an hour.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I feel the ecstasy, right? The music starts to feed into your brain, and then you feel the fur off the seat. It just starts tickling my head. And then my eyes are like, but I'm compass mentis enough to drive, because whenever I raved in Arizona, when I raved in the UK, I did learn how to drive on ecstasy. This sounds terrible. And don't do this, kids.
For sure,
don't do this, kids.
Yeah.
You're going to end up slamming your car into a wall.
Yeah, definitely.
I just got lucky that I never had a situation driving, but I was driving home, listening to Sasha. We get back to Rancho Murrieta, the apartment complex. Acid Joey shows up, jumps through the window, all these other people taking 100 packs. It's gone within the weekend.
Right.
So I then make the fateful decision to abandon my slow and steady progress from age 14 in the stock market to go full-time in the party scene.
Full-time.
Yeah, and if you've got if you're a young person watching this and you've got a goal and you started it as a teenager, stay with it.
Stick with it,
because you will get the perseverance.
Yeah.
But if you just abandon it for fast cash, you will lose absolutely everything. You will give your family nightmares. My mum had a nervous breakdown. You will spend years in hell, and you will regret doing all this shit because of the harm you've caused society and your loved ones.
And Shaun's definitely someone credible. Like, I'd really take heed to his words, because obviously, he's been there.
I just want to say, because I feel like I get a bit giddy.
Absolutely,
when I'm telling some of these stories. I'm not glamorizing. I work in drugs education now. I spoke to hundreds of thousands of young people over the year, doing this for 10 years, and I'm restoring my karma.
Definitely.
I got a message from one kid saying she'd been so inspired by my talk, she went on to do a criminology degree at Winchester Uni.
Right.
And her family invited me to the graduation and everything.
Sweet, man. Congrats, man. That's pretty sick.
It's all about the karma.
Exactly.
Yeah.